Oh no! A bird hit the window. Hey everyone. Welcome to the channel. This obviously was pretend, but have you ever had that happen in real life? Have you ever had a bird hit a window of your house or a building? What do you do? What do you do to the poor little bird that's whacked into your window? In fact, if you find an injured bird in general, what do you do with injured birds? Let's chat. So when you find a poor little injured bird who has run into a window or had some other accident, there are a few things you can do. And it really depends on what kind of injury has been sustained by this bird. If you see a bird whacked into a window, it's on the ground, still standing up, just sort of dazed and stunned, the best thing to do, grab a shoebox or a bag and a cloth of some kind, something soft, and line the shoebox with the rag, the towel, put the bird in the box, keep it nice and dark, and then put that box somewhere where it's going to be safe, somewhere where it's not going to get tripped over or kicked or stepped on or bumped or jostled in any way. Someplace where it's quiet, so it's not going to have a lot of scary disturbances. Somewhere that it's not going to be too hot, not going to be too cold. You don't want to sit the box in the bright sunlight, but you also don't want to keep it outside if it's really, really cold out. And just kind of let the bird recover. Birds often are really good at recovering from light impacts. They're stunned, they take a few minutes, but they can kind of get themselves back together. And if you give them maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the box, they may very well be fine. I've been really impressed in all the years that I've been working with birds, handling birds, seeing bird injuries. I've been really impressed with how resilient birds often are. And if you just give them sort of a dark, kind of warm, quiet place that's safe to kind of hang out, you really can recover from a lot. So if you do that, if you put the bird in a box, just sort of leave it alone for 15 minutes, come back and check on it. If you take it outside, and if you open the box and the bird can fly out, hey, fantastic, great, well done you. But that's for an adult bird that's a fairly minor injury. It whacked into a glass. It's definitely stunned. Definitely needs some recovery. But not really, really seriously traumatized. Also, like I said, an adult bird. So here are a couple of different points where this advice changes. If it's a baby bird, if you found a baby bird on the ground, and again, it looks basically fine, there are sort of two different paths to follow. One is, if the bird is such a small baby that it doesn't have a lot of feathers and it can't really move around very much, then if you can look around and find the nest and you can get that baby bird back in its nest, that's fantastic. Go for it. Put the baby bird back in the nest. This helps to dispel an old misconception, an old myth, that if you find a baby bird like that and you put it back in its nest, that the mother bird will abandon it because it somehow maybe smells your scent on it. This doesn't happen. If the baby bird is back in the nest, and of most species, if the mother bird sees its baby back in its nest, it is going to continue taking care of it. There are certainly some exceptions to this, but by and large, the best bet, if you can find a nest, and if you have a baby bird that doesn't have a lot of feathers on it, you can put that baby bird back in the nest, That's the best move. If you find a baby bird that doesn't have a lot of feathers on it and you can't find a nest, or you can find it but it's really high on a tree, you can't get to the nest, that's when it's time to call a professional. Look up a local wildlife rehabilitation center in your area and call them and get their advice, and which may very well mean dropping that bird off at their center. If the baby bird has feathers though, if it's got some feathers, if it can kind of move around, kind of hop around a little bit, maybe a little bit of flapping, then it's actually probably fine. Baby birds, when they are leaving the nest as they grow up, come to a point in their development when it's time for them to leave the nest and move around, but oftentimes it's not really when they're full flyers. So they kind of branch out and they start exploring the world around them, and in that time their parents are still absolutely taking care of them. So the best thing to do is if you find a baby bird which has a good coating of feathers, and like I said, can sort of move around under its own power, it doesn't seem to be injured, crippled in any way, the best thing to do is to just back off. Keep your cats and dogs away from the area, just give it some space and let the parents come back and continue taking care of it as they probably were before you found this bird. So that's if it's a baby bird. But like I said, the whole box idea, the wrap it in a cloth, put it in a box, is great for adult birds that aren't too severely injured. So we talked about if they aren't adults, if they're babies, but what happens if they are severely injured? If you find a bird and it's hit a glass, or it's maybe been attacked by a cat, or had some other trauma, and it's bleeding, it's either got wounds on its body, or it's maybe bleeding from its beak or from its nostrils, suggesting maybe internal bleeding, that's again a place where call the professionals. Again, your best move is probably get a box, get a towel, put the bird in the box, with a nicely lined towel, keep it sort of closed somewhere dark and quiet, but don't wait around for those 15 minutes. Immediately call that wildlife rehabilitation center. And again, see what they have to say, get their advice, sort of follow their instructions. It's something that happens a fair bit. Birds hit windows. Birds are attacked by cats. It's a pretty common event. And there are lots of things that we can do to reduce it. There are lots of things we can do to windows to make them less dangerous to birds. We can all keep our cats inside. But while those are all great moves, sometimes attacks do happen. You find injured birds. And so hopefully these are some suggestions, some tips, some ideas, some thoughts on what you can do when you find that bird, so you can increase the odds of survival and recovery of that bird as much as humanly possible. So I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much for the view. Until next time, enjoy the natural world.